Hello guys, this this is part 120 of ASP.NET video tutorial. In this video we'll discuss about caching multiple responses for a single web form. Please watch part 119. From ASP.NET video tutorial before proceeding with this video, as this is a continuation to part 119. Let me show you the third presentation slide precisely to you. Let's flip to SQL Server Management Studio. Let's understand caching multiple response with an example. Let's flip to SQL Server Management Studio. And if you remember, in the previous sessions we have discussed about creating this table TBL products and populating with some sample data. So we have some sample data within that table. So let me show you the previous table where we have the sample data. Here is the sample data. And in the previous session, I did not executed this query for wait for delay 0 hours 0 minutes 5 seconds. So we will see the execution of this query here to see the effect of wait for delay. Okay, we are asking to show the result after 5 seconds. So if I execute this SP get products, then the result should be shown after 5 seconds. Okay, here will be the time. So I am executing this query, execute SP get products. So I executed it and see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that is the result after 5 seconds wait for delay. In the previous session I did not execute this. Okay, now let's go back to our new query stored procedure SP get product by name. Now let's write a simple stored procedure which retrieves the product by their name. So I have this stored procedure here, SP get product by name. And then this stored procedure has this parameter, and then this stored procedure has this parameter at product name. If the name of the product, I mean if we supply a value of all for this of all, I mean if we supply a value of all for this product name parameter, then what we are doing here, simply retrieving ID name description from table TBL table products, from table products TBL products table, all the products. Okay, on the other hand, if I supply any other name, apart from any other name, apart from all, Then we are retrieving ID name description. Then we are retrieving ID name and description from table TBL products table where name is equal to whatever we supply. So the only difference if the product name is all, we retrieve all the products. Otherwise we filter product. We filter product by name using where clause. Here is simple stored procedure sp get product by name. So let's go ahead and create that now. Execute it. Command completed successfully. Let's test this stored procedure. So obviously if I supply a value for all, we should be able to retrieve all the product from TBL product table. So that is what we get on the other hand. So if I execute this query and execute it, so that is what we get on the other hand. If I supply a value of laptops, if I supply a value of laptop, let me copy it from here and paste it here. So if I supply a value of laptops for the product name parameter, then I should only be able to retrieve the products which match the name laptops. In this case, we have only one row, and that is what we get here. So I execute this. So in this case, we have only one row, and that is what we get here. All right. Now let's see how to invoke this stored procedure from ASP.NET web application and display the data that is retrieved by this stored procedure. So let's flip to Visual Studio, and I'm going to have a simple text here, select product. So let me go to the Visual Studio. Here is our previous project. Here we had we have this webform 1.axpx. Let me add second web form, new item. Where is the web form? Here it is. Add. So I'm going to have a simple text here. Select product. Select product. Select product. And then let's drag and drop a drop down list. So go to the toolbox. Where is the drop down list? I think here it is. Drag and drop a drop down list onto this web form, and in this drop down list we want to list all the products that are available. We want to list all the products that are available for selection. So we have around 4 product here. So we have around so we have around 4 product here. So I want to display all these 4 products. So I want to display all these 4 products. So the user can select them from the drop down list. So the user can select them from the drop down list. And in just to speed things up, I have basically the products that the user can select already typed. So go to the notepad. Here is the So I am telling you the 2 ways. Here it is the copy and paste. This coding portion here. Either you can copy and paste, or you can use, I am telling the another way also. So this is the one way. So, but I will go to another way so that you can easily understand it better. Okay. This is the one way. You can copy and paste it like that. You may Okay. This is the one way. And the other way is that just delete this. And go to the design part and get to its property. And here you will see the collection items, and you can add here first all value all. Okay, now go to the second item is laptops. Value should also be laptops. Click OK and add another item, iPhone. Text iPhone, value is also iPhone. Okay, here we are giving the same name to text and value. What is the product name? Okay, now go for LCD TV. Text should be LCD TV and value should also be the same LCD TV. Click OK. Add one more, desktop and value also desktop. You can see we have the same value for these two text and values as the product name. Okay, now go to the source code, and here you can see this. Okay, this is the second way to add the list. So these are the four products, and just to speed things up, we could have copy and paste the typed copy and paste the uh, type this coding portion. Okay, now then we could also write it as text is equal to all, value is equal to all, and remove it from here. Similarly, we can give the same text is equal to, copy this, remove this, paste it here, and value. Okay, copy this, it doesn't matter if you write the things like that as previously you have written, it doesn't matter, or you can write it like this also. Okay, copy this, go for value, and for desktop, okay. So we have our list items, four list items. There are total 5 list items from all to desktop. So we have specified the list item. Okay, and if you look at the list item here, laptops, iPhone, LCD TV, desktops, the text and value. The text and value are the same thing here. Text and value are the same here. As you can see here, laptops text, value is text, iPhone text, value is iPhone, LCD text, value LCD TV, LCD TV text, LCD TV value, desktop text, value desktop here. And look at that, along with all the products that we have, I am also using another list item. I am also using the another list item all, just in case if the user wants to see all the product, then he uses. If the user wants to see all the product, then he uses that text all. Okay, so we have that drop down list. drop down list there, and then we want a grid view control, and then we want a grid view control where user can actually see the data, where user can actually see the data. So let's drag and drop. So let's drag and drop the grid view. So let's drag and drop the grid view. Where is the grid view? Grid view is under data tab. Where is the grid view? Here it is. And then let's quickly auto format this. Okay, then let's quickly auto format this. Okay. All right. So we have the grid view control. And then finally, I also want to display the server side time. And then I also want to display the server side time. And the client time and the client time and the client time. And to display the server side time, let's drag and drop a label control onto the web form. And also I want to display the client time. So client time, I have already write this. So first drag and drop the label control. Here it is. And get to its property and remove the label text. All right. So we have all the HTML that is required now. Now let's flip to the code behind file. Now let's flip to the code behind file of this web form. So obviously now we need to invoke this. So obviously now we need to invoke this stored procedure sp get product by name from our ASP.NET web application. And to do that, I already have written a method, a simple private method here. Okay. So this is edu.net code. So this is simple edu.net code. Okay. Where is the code? Go to the notepad. Here is the private method. Copy this. And paste it here. So this is a simple edu.net code. Okay. So what we are doing here, we are using the configuration manager class. We are using the configuration manager class to read the connection string. Configuration manager class to read the connection string. from web.config file, from web.config file. So in web.config file, we have db connection string. So in web.config file, we have db connection string. We are reading this. We are reading the connection string value. We are reading the connection string value, and to this variable, we are reading the connection string value in this variable, and we are using that variable to actually create SQL connection object. To create SQL connection object, and then we have SQL data adapter, and then we have SQL data adapter, which is invoking this stored procedure sp get product by name. Okay, and look at this, stored procedure, and look at this stored procedure expects a parameter to be passed in. Expects a parameter to be passed in. Expects a parameter to be passed in. So obviously, we have to prepare a SQL parameter object as well. SQL parameter object. Parameter. So SQL parameter, and then the parameter name is at product name, and then the parameter name is at product name, and the value for that is coming. Look at this method, and the value for that is coming. Look at this method. This method has a parameter. Product name parameter. So that's what we are using actually. When we call this method, this is when we will supply the actual value. Okay, and finally we are adding that parameter, to the parameter collection of the select command, to the parameters collection of the select command of data adapter object, and we are creating a new data set, filling that with the data that we get after we execute the stored procedures. After we execute the stored procedure, sp get product by name. Finally, we are setting the data as data source. data source. For the grid view control, and invoking data bind, simple private method, simple private method. Now let us see how to actually use this method. Now look at this in the page load. If it is not a post back, meaning if it is the initial get request of the web form, so look at this in the page load. If it is not a post back, meaning if it is this initial get request of the web form, then what do I want to do? I want to basically show all the products to the end user. Okay, so in that case, I am going to call this method get product by name. So copy this. Let me show you. So if it is the initial get request of the web form, then what do I want to do? I want to basically show all the products to the end user. Okay, so in that case, I am going to call this method get product by name. And then look at this. I am going to pass a value of all to the parameter, to that parameter. So obviously we pass all. What is going to happen? We pass all. What is going to happen? The stored procedure is going to return. The stored procedure is going to return all the product. So I want to basically retrieve. So I want to basically retrieve all the products and display them in the grid view control. So that's what is going. So that is what. So that's what is going to happen now. Okay, and what else I want to do? I also want to set the server side time. If you remember, on this web form we have this label. On this web form we have this label 1 control, which displays the server side time. And to retrieve the server time, I am going to set the text property of this label control to date time dot now dot to string. So I'm going to set the text property of this label control to date time to date time dot now dot to string. To string. So date time dot now. So date time dot now should give us the so so date time dot now should give us the current date time on the web server where this where this code gets executed. Okay, where this code gets executed. And another thing, ASP have ASP has displayed the server side time using datetime.now, but to display the client time, we can make use of the JavaScript. So let's flip to source code. So let's flip to source code. So this is where I want to display client time. So let's use the script tag. So let's use the script tag. And specify the type as text // JavaScript. And to print the client time we can use the document object write method. Document object dot write method. And to retrieve the client time, we can use the date function. And to retrieve the client time, we can use the date function. The JavaScript date function. That's it. So this piece of code should retrieve the time on the client machine. So this piece of code should retrieve the time on the client machine. Whereas this piece of code should retrieve the date and time on the web server. All right. Now another thing that we have to do. Obviously, when the selection in the drop down list changes, we want to display only the product. That the user has selected. So the first thing is I want to set the auto post back property to true. Get to the property of this auto set property. Where is the auto post back? So the first thing is I want to set the auto post back property to true. Here you can see auto post back property is false for the drop down list, so make it true. So whenever the selection changes, we want to immediately post back to the web server. So I have set the auto post back property to true. Double click the drop down list, control, double click the drop down list control. So whenever the selection changes, what should happen? We want to invoke this method. We want to invoke this method and then pass in the name of the product and then pass in the name product that we want to display to the user. So obviously within the drop down list, so obviously within the drop down list, the user will select a product and that selected value we want to pass to this method. We want to pass to this method, which in turn is going to call this stored procedure, which is in turn to call this stored procedure, which in turn is going to call this stored procedure and pass the product name and pass the product name as a parameter value for at product name, for at product name attribute. So let's go ahead and invoke that method. So let's go ahead and invoke that method. Now within the drop down list, 1 underscore selected index changed event. So get product by name. So get product by name. And look at this. And look at this. It expect and look at it expects product name. And where do we get product name from? From the drop down list. And from drop down list, which property we use? Which property we use from the drop down list? We use selected value. Okay. So drop down list 1, and from drop down list 1, which property we use? Selected value. Because if you remember on the web form, Web form we have set the value also as the name of the product. Value as the name of the product. As you can see here, value name, value also as the name of the product. Here value is laptop values as the product name, iPhone as the product name value, LCD TV as the product name value, and desktop as the name of the value. All right. Okay. All right. That's all. That's all. That's all. Okay. Let's save everything. Save everything. Let's go ahead and run this as it stands right now. Now we don't have caching enabled at all. So now the web form, the application is going to work normally without caching. So let's run this pressing by pressing Control F5. Control F5. When the web form loads up, you might expect, you know, it should first display all the products here. Okay, look at the server time is 00:52:15. 16. Both the server side and client time. 1 second is more, are same at most, almost. Now I select laptops. Look at that 00:53:10. 00:53:10 and 00:53:10. Both the server and client times are the same, and I see the laptops. And if I select desktop, I get desktop, and notice if I select desktop, notice the server side time and the client side time, they are the same. 00:53:45, 00:53:45. Let me copy this. Okay. Now let's go ahead and enable caching. In the previous session, in the previous session, we discussed about enabling caching. To enable caching, all we do is set the output cache attribute. Okay, so let's go to the web form. Output cache property. Output cache attribute. So output cache, and there are two mandatory attributes. The first one is the duration. Which controls how long the web form should be cached. In the case, I'm going to set that to 60. in this case I'm set it to 60, meaning this waveform is going to be cached for the next 60 seconds, and then we have VaryByParam attribute. VaryByParam attribute as well. In the previous session, we have discussed that this parameter can be used to cache multiple responses for a single waveform. In the previous session, we have set that to none, meaning cache only one response for the waveform. Let's go ahead and set that to none for now, and let's see what is going to happen. We have enabled caching. We have enabled caching, set the duration to 60 seconds, and VaryByParam to none. So now only one response of this waveform will be cached. So as a result of this, let's see how the behavior of this waveform is going to be. Let's run this project by pressing Control F5. Control F5. Now look at this. When the waveform loads, I get all the products. Which is good. Now let me select, for example, here iPhone. Now let me select, for example, iPhone. Look at that, I get iPhone. So look at the server side times 005727 005727. That is when this waveform is sent back to the user, and that is the client time. 005727. Server side time and client side time are the same. Now look at this. I am selecting all. Now I am selecting all. Look at that. I'm only get iPhone, and I am typing to select LCD TV. LCD TV. Okay. Notice that since this waveform is cached, and since only one response for this waveform is cached, no matter what you select here, you only get that cached response for the waveform, and this does not make any sense to the end user, right? Because I am making a different selection, but ultimately, after time elapsed 60 seconds, we get the response. But ultimately, turns out that I get that single response. Now, if I again select anything, but this is now cached for desktop. If I select laptop, I will see the desktop here for the 60 seconds. If I select iPhone, I will see this desktop here. If I select LCD, now if the time elapsed or past 60 seconds, then we'll see the new item. Okay. So no matter what your selection is within the drop down list, you get whatever is cached on the web server. So how do we correct this problem? So now the 60 second has passed. So if select something, then it will show us that for another 60 second. Look at that iPhone. If I select laptops, the iPhone will remain there. If I select LCD, the iPhone will be there. Desktop. So it will change after 60 seconds. So this waveform is cached for 60 seconds. So how do we correct this problem? To correct this problem, all you need to do is set the VaryByParam, to drop down list 1. So obviously, if you So obviously, if you set VaryByParam to none, only one response of web form is cached, and that is what the every user will get when they try to access that web form before that duration has expired. Before that duration has expired means after expiration of 60 seconds, you will see the new item which you select, and for 60 seconds that selected item will remain there in the cached, in the memory, in the cache, as the cached. Okay, but on the other hand, to solve that problem, so on the other hand, to solve that problem, all we have to do is set that VaryByParam to drop down list 1. So in this case, what is going to happen? It is going to cache up to 5 different responses, for that web form, you know, for that web form. And obviously, one for each possible selection from that drop-down list control. Now look at this in this drop-down list. Control, I have 5 different values. Now in this drop-down list control, I have 5 different values. So 5 responses for this web form will be cached, one for each possible selection from this drop-down list 1. So let's see how to solve that problem. So I'm going to set the VaryByParam to drop-down list 1. So set it drop down list 1. Drop down list 1. Okay, let's save that. Let's go ahead and run that. Let's save that. Let's go ahead and run that. Closing the previous one. Initials one. So now all is retrieved at 100321 100322. Now look at this, I get laptops. Now look at this, I get laptops. If I select laptops 010354 010354, that is when it is cached. I select iPhone 0146 0146, that is when it is cached. Look at that, when I go back to laptops 01354, I get the same cache 01354, same cached version. But look at the client side time, it is keep changing because on the client side this JavaScript code keeps running. On the other hand, if I go back to the desktop, now this web form will be reprocessed, and look at that, this time this web form is reprocessed, and a response for this desktop is cached, you can see 01456 01456. This web form will be reprocessed, and look at that, this time this web form is reprocessed and a response for this desktop is cached. So If I go back to laptop, if I go back to laptops, look at that, I still get that version, which was CAS 01553. It is the new one. It means that 60 seconds has elapsed. So now for each possible selection, a response will be cached. Okay. So if I select all, look at that 01604, maybe that 60-second duration has expired, not expired, has expired. So this waveform is reprocessed. So this waveform is reprocessed. 60-second duration has expired. So this form is reprocessed. So let's go for laptops. So this is not reprocessed. So this is not reprocessed. This waveform was cached at. Now this is also reprocessed. Means 60-second has expired. Now it is okay. So in the next 3-4 seconds, it is going to be reprocessed. So if I go back and select desktop and go back to laptops, so it is reprocessed. Okay. Now if I go back to iPhone, and come back laptops, look at that, it will be not reprocessed though. It will be reprocessed. Okay. So now since we have set VaryByParam to drop down list 1 for each possible selection from the drop down list. For each selection for the drop down list, from drop down list, we will have a response of the web form cache. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Have a great day. Thank you for watching this.